Hey guys, happy Halloween and welcome back to Analyzing Horror. My name's Lauren and today I wanted to share my top 10 favorite Halloween/October themed horror movies. In case you needed a recommendation for what to watch on Halloween night. You guys like my costume, by the way? So these are all annual spooky season must watches for me. I love them so much. Not only are they just really great movies in general, but they give off the perfect, crisp, autumnal Halloween vibes, which is the most wonderful time of the year, of course. And they all instantly get me into the Halloween spirit, so I highly recommend them for either a spooky season watch or non-spooky season watch. I think they're great regardless. But they just hit different in October, if you know what I mean. So if you haven't seen one or a couple off of my list, I humbly request that you add it to your watch list for either this spooky season or next, because it'll instantly get you into the Halloween spirit, and I love them so much. They scream Halloween to me, and they're just so fantastic, and I love revisiting them every year. All right, let's just dive right in. I'd like to say, though, that this list is in no particular order. I love all of these movies for different reasons, but I love them equally. Although I am going to start off with more Halloween-themed movies that are directly centered around Halloween and the holiday, and then conclude with movies that are more like set in October that are loosely around Halloween, but aren't really Halloween-themed, but will still get you into the spooky spirit. All right, first on the list and what my costume is based off of, Trick or Treat from 2007. 4 interwoven stories that occur on Halloween. An everyday high school principal has a secret life as a serial killer. A college virgin might just have met the guy of her dreams. A group of teenagers pull a mean prank, and a bitter old recluse receives an unwanted guest. So as you can probably guess by the title, this is the ultimate Halloween movie. Not only is it set directly on Halloween night, but it's also an anthology. So we're following several different characters and their storylines, but they're all interwoven and connected in a sort of way. And that's one thing that I just love about anthologies so much. So not only do you get the Halloween vibes, but you also get like the autumn vibes as well, because every character is outside at least once, so you get like the crisp autumn Halloween night vibes, and I can just feel the weather through the screen. I love it so much. Like, I feel like I can smell the bonfire off in the distance. Like, I feel like I'm just in this movie every time I watch it. I love it. I love it so much. I also really enjoyed all the stories. I don't think there's one that I would omit. I think they're all really fantastic. Although I will say my favorite is like the young girl getting bullied and like a group of teens going to see this abandoned bus scene. Like, if you've seen this movie, you know what I'm talking about. I think that one's my favorite. And I guess the second favorite is like the high school principal one. I don't know, he's just so over the top evil, and I just really loved his performance. Like, I just thought he was really funny. But like I said, I loved all of them. I feel like they all have their own little twist as well. And of course, who I'm dressed as, Sam, this mythical being that's basically like the embodiment of Halloween's spirit. And he has a set of rules that you must follow on Halloween night, and if you don't, he pays you a visit. Not only do I just love his appearance, I think he's freaking adorable, but I also really love how he's sprinkled throughout the entire movie. Like, there are some scenes and stories where he is actively involved in the scene, and then there are some where he's just very passive, like he's just off in the distance watching from afar. And I just really love that, because in addition to all of the stories being interwoven on their own, Sam's presence also connects all of the stories, and I just thought that was really cool. And he's just such a great Halloween character, and this movie is just classic Halloween. It'll immediately get you into the Halloween spirit, and I love it so much. And I reserve it specifically for a Halloween watch. Like, I watch several movies on Halloween, but this is definitely one of them, because it has to be reserved for Halloween Day, in my opinion. But I love it so much. I could probably watch it all month long. All right, next on the list, number 2. House LLC from 2015. 5 years after an unexplained malfunction caused the death of 15 tour-goers and staff on the opening night of a Halloween haunted house tour, a documentary crew travels back to the scene of the tragedy to find out what really happened. So I really love how the movie starts off kind of mockumentary style. The crew's interviewing a bunch of different people that are giving the really creepy and sinister backstory on Hell House before we're introduced to our main characters, which are a group of friends that bought Hell House and plan to renovate it and turn it into a haunted attraction that will open on Halloween night. And because of this, the movie counts down to Halloween, and I just love this so much. Not only because it adds tension to all of the creepiness with each day more haunting and creepy stuff happens in the house, but also there's just something so festive about a movie counting down to Halloween. Like, despite all of the creepiness and all of the stuff that's happening in the house, like, it's so festive and I just love it. And speaking of creepy stuff, this movie is so insanely scary, at least to me. There are some really great paranormal scares in this movie, but my God, the clowns. The clowns are instantly what I think of whenever I hear House LLC. Oh, they look so creepy. And then all of a sudden they move, even though they're mannequins, they're not supposed to move. Oh, all of those scenes freak me the hell out. So whenever the camera pans to a clown, pans away, and then pans back to the clown and the clown has moved, at least for me, I feel like I'm in the room with the clown and oh my God, it freaks me the hell out. I literally squirm on my couch every time I watch this movie. Like, I cannot handle the clowns. Like, their subtle movements and then just like the way that they get closer and closer sometimes. Again, because of the found footage, I feel like I am there and I want to get out of that house. Even though I'm not in the house, I want out the house immediately. There's also this paranormal ghostly lady that lives in the attic and one of our characters sleeps up there. Like, oh my God, there are some scares that are insanely effective. And then there's this like really, really scary part. Like, I won't even give anything else away, but oh my God. Like the clowns and then her, like I instantly think of those two when I think of this movie. Also, this movie is so good at building tension and dread. Like every single day that it gets closer and closer to Halloween, like you just feel this deep sense of dread for these characters because they want to get out, but it's like their job. Like they have all their money tied up into this house. They have to make it back on Halloween night for their attraction. So they're basically stuck there renovating this place. But each day, the hauntings and the creepy stuff just gets worse and worse. And then that entire third act, like, oh my God, so insanely explosive. And then that ending is so incredibly bleak, like, wow. Like, it's so creepy. And it gets you fully in the spooky mood, not only because of all of the scares, but also because it's counting down to Halloween. They're renovating this place to be a haunted house attraction. So it feels so Halloween. And it's also autumn, obviously. It's in October while they're renovating. They go outside for breaks and stuff. So again, you can feel that autumn weather through the screen. And it's just such a fantastic movie. And if you want to be scared and also get the Halloween vibes, this is definitely the movie for you. Okay, next, number 3 on the list. Haunt from 2019. So on Halloween, a group of friends encounter an extreme haunted house that promises to feed on their darkest fears. The night turns deadly as they come to the horrifying realization that some nightmares are real. So as the synopsis states, this is set on Halloween, so of course it's Halloween themed. And I actually discovered this one just last year for the first time, and I just recently rewatched it this year, only for the second time. But last year, it immediately became a part of my annual spooky season must-watch list, mostly just because of the premise and how fantastic the movie is. Like I said, it gives you all of the Halloween vibes. They're going to a haunted attraction, and of course, that's Halloween themed as well. And then the scares. Oh my God, the scares are so effective in this movie. And I know the synopsis summarized it pretty well, but basically a group of friends goes to this haunted attraction thinking it's just an attraction, but it's actually a bunch of serial killers that trap them in there and they're killing them off one by one. And these serial killers are all wearing masks and either dressed up as like a clown or a ghost. So they're so insanely creepy. Like just looking at them alone is terrifying. But then imagine yourself in a maze and you're trapped and then one of them is just hanging out in the corner, kind of like just staring at you. Also, there are some insane body horror scenes in this movie. Oh my God, not even some. A ton. Also, that maze haunted attraction is so insanely claustrophobic because every time they would like complete a room and they would go on to the next room, both doors would be locked. So like you're basically trapped unless you get through each puzzle, and the puzzles are not very friendly. So, and it just adds to that claustrophobic feeling because not only are you locked in a room and can't get out, but also there are things in each room that wish to cause you harm. So it just adds to that tension and claustrophobia and like, oh my God, this movie is just so insanely intense and you're constantly on the edge of your seat. Also, the main character, Harper, is an awesome final girl. Like she is such a fighter and we need to be talking more about her as a final girl. I feel like she's rather underrated. Like, I just love it so much. It's genuinely frightening and so insanely intense. And like I said, very claustrophobic as well. All of the villains are so terrifying, and it's just such a fantastic movie. And especially because it's set on Halloween, it's one of the perfect Halloween movies for your watch list. All right, next, number 4 on the list. The House is October, built from 2014. Beneath the fake blood and cheap masks of countless haunted house attractions across the country, there are whispers of truly terrifying alternatives. Looking to find an authentic, blood-curdling good fright for Halloween, 5 friends set off on a road trip in an RV to track down these underground haunts. Just when their search seems to reach a dead end, strange and disturbing things start happening, and it becomes clear that the haunt has come to them. So this is another movie that is directly around Halloween. It actually counts down to Halloween as well, in addition to also being found footage, so you feel like you're there with the characters, and it just feels very authentic. It feels more like a home movie rather than found footage or like a full movie, if that makes sense. Which just makes all of the scares so much more authentic and creepy to me. I also really love how the movie starts off where we're just following this group of friends in their RV. They're going to a bunch of different haunts, and the scares are genuinely them just going through the haunted house attractions. Like, obviously there are a bunch of jump scares and stuff like that in there. And I just really love that because, again, it adds to that authenticity where they're in a haunt, they're recording the haunt, and you still get scared by a jump scare even though it's not even the movie. It's like a haunted house attraction that's scaring you. And I also really liked how the group interviewed like employees of the haunted house attraction. So you got kind of like their inside scoop and stuff on the inner workings of haunted house attractions. I thought that was really cool as well. And then they start asking the employees about these extreme haunted house attractions that they've heard of. And some haven't heard of them. Some have, but have never like known the location or anything like that. So it seems like it's a dead end. But then creepy things start to happen to this friend group. So at one point in one of these haunts, one of the friends encounters a woman that's kind of like in a doll mask of some kind. And they end up running into her in the middle of a field where they parked their RV. They let this woman in their RV, by the way. I cannot believe they let her in their home. Oh my God. And then she just does this insane wail and then just walks out like, I just cannot get over that they invited a stranger into their RV. An RV already isn't very secure, and you're just gonna let someone walk into your property. Oh my God. That's where you sleep. That's where your stuff is. But I really love how after that scene, the tension just keeps building and building until that third act. And oh my God, that third act. It starts off incredibly unsettling and unnerving, and then just genuinely pure terror. And also the building of dread is done so well. And like I said, that third act is so explosive. And I just really love how it's like, it's not a bunch of like jump scares necessarily. Like there are when they're in the haunted house attractions. But in the sense of the whole movie, it's mostly just like building of tension and dread. Like nothing's happening, but you feel like something is about to happen. Or like after that crazy lady was let into the RV and she just walks out, there's just like, oh my God, so unsettling. And I love this movie so much. And I'm just a huge fan of found footage. Like I keep saying, it feels so much more authentic than like an average movie. Like you feel like you're really there in the RV with this group of friends. So when scares and unsettling things happen, it feels like you are really there and it's actually happening to you. And it just really gets under my skin so much more than any other horror subgenre. And this one is so great, both for the spookiness and the scares and the autumn vibes, but also because it's directly around Halloween. It counts down to Halloween. The plot surrounds haunted house attractions. So it's just this perfect blend of like found footage, Halloween, and genuine scares and disturbing imagery and that building of tension that I keep mentioning. Like it's really great. All right, next, number 5 on the list. The classic Halloween from 1978. Like I'll still read the synopsis, but if you don't know what this movie is about, you need to go watch this immediately. That is a requirement. 15 years after murdering his sister on Halloween night, 1963, Michael Myers escapes from a mental hospital and returns to the small town of Haddonfield, Illinois, to kill again. So I obviously had to add this to the list. It's absolutely a classic, iconic. It is the Halloween movie. Like Michael Myers, the iconic slasher villain, Laurie Strode, the iconic final girl. Like it's just perfect. And it's also yet another movie that is set in autumn, so you get to feel that crisp autumn weather coming through the screen as well. And of course, John Carpenter directing as well as the soundtrack. That soundtrack is so fantastic. Iconic at this point, of course. The main title song And then also the Haddonfield score. Like, I just love that score so much. Like, it's a classic and so beautiful and melodious while also haunting. And it just spawned the rest of the soundtracks for the future movies. And it's just so special. And this list would have felt incomplete without this movie. So of course I had to add it. Also, I just recently uploaded a video ranking the entire Halloween franchise. So if you haven't seen that yet, definitely check that out. Okay, next, number 6 on the list. House of a Thousand Corpses from 2002. Two teenage couples traveling across the backwoods of Texas searching for urban legends of serial killers end up as prisoners of a bizarre and sadistic backwater family of serial killers. So first off, apologies for the double feature Blu-ray, but I really love both of these movies and Rob Zombie is just fantastic. I just really love how dark and gritty he gets with most of his movies. I just think he has such a really grimy, horror-themed vision. And House of a Thousand Corpses is specifically on this list because it's actually set on Halloween night. And I just really love the messed up premise. Like, these two couples are trying to find like urban legends or whatever, and they stumble upon this, oh, like, we've got a Halloween attraction, come on this ride. And next thing they know, they're being imprisoned and tortured and killed, and it's absolutely brutal. I think Dr. Satan is the most terrifying for me in this movie, but also Otis and Baby, like, they are so intimidating and unsettling. And especially in Devil's Rejects and the other movie, that one's not specifically Halloween in any way, but that's also a really great movie. Like, they're just so insane. Like, for me, they're like a bomb that's about to explode. Like, you never know what they're about to do, but it's never a good thing. Also, Rainn Wilson, who's Dwight from The Office, is in this. It's completely random, but I thought that was pretty cool. And I think I could say this is the most disturbing movie on this list. Like, it's Rob Zombie, so if you've seen one of his movies, you know what you're getting yourself into. But it's just so incredibly gnarly and gory and brutal, and every turn that the movie takes, like, it just gets worse and worse. And it's just one of those movies where if you can stomach it, it's fantastic, but it's certainly not for the faint of heart. Okay, we're moving on from movies that are specifically Halloween themed and directly around Halloween onto movies that have more of like a Halloween autumn vibe. Like, they are loosely around Halloween. They're set in October. They aren't specifically Halloween themed, but they still give you the spooky Halloween vibes. Okay, next, number 7 on the list. Last Night in Soho from 2021. A young girl named Ellie, passionate about fashion design, is mysteriously able to enter the 1960s where she encounters her idol, a dazzling wannabe singer named Sandy. But 1960s London is not what it seems, and time seems to be falling apart with shady consequences. Okay, so this one is on this list because halfway through the movie, Ellie is invited to a Halloween party. So there's a Halloween party in this movie, so that's enough for me to count it as a Halloween movie. And honestly, I'll take any excuse to talk about this movie. I adore it so much. It's my favorite movie of all time. Like, I love everything about it. By the way, I also did a full spoiler review on my channel, so make sure to check that out if you're interested. But like I said, I love everything about this. Edgar Wright directing, he's my favorite director. I love him so much. Anya Taylor-Joy, she has my heart. She's my favorite actress. Oh my God. Matt Smith, like, he's incredible. I love him in everything I've seen him in. Thomasin McKenzie is incredible. Like, the entire cast is perfect. And again, with Edgar Wright directing, you know that it's going to be accompanied with a fantastic soundtrack, and it absolutely does. There's this dance sequence between Anya Taylor-Joy and Matt Smith that to this day still gives me goosebumps. I feel like I've seen this movie an infinite amount of times since it came out in theaters, but still, I get goosebumps throughout this movie. Like, I genuinely get chills up my spine. Like, it does something to me. But anyway, outside of the Halloween party that I mentioned, this movie isn't very specifically Halloween, although it did come out in October last year when it was out in theaters. So it kind of feels like October. It feels like an October, like, Halloween style movie for me anyway. And it's also very paranormal and psychological. It's also very psychedelic with all of these neon colors. And again, that soundtrack, like, it's very beautiful yet haunting at the same time. So it's a very spooky movie. I wouldn't say it's necessarily Halloween, but because of that Halloween party, I will say that it gives you the spooky vibes. It gives you spooky vibes year round, but especially for Halloween, I think it's just extra special. All right, moving on to number 8, The Blair Witch Project from 1999. In October of 1994, 3 student filmmakers disappeared in the woods near Burkesville, Maryland, while shooting a documentary. A year later, their footage was found. So obviously being set in October, I had to add it to the list. Also, they're outside in the woods, so it's very autumnal. And again, you can feel that weather through the screen. And I just really, really love the premise. I think I've mentioned already that I really love found footage, and this is actually the movie that introduced me to the subgenre. So it holds a very special place in my heart because of that. And I know a lot of people like to hate on this movie and say that it's boring, but I challenge you to ask yourself, if you were lost in the woods, and again, this is 1999, no cell phones, no Wi-Fi, and you don't have a map, and you are completely lost, that is terrifying. You are truly fucked. So for me, that's one of the reasons why I find this movie so terrifying. Like, that's a real life horror. People accidentally get lost in the forest and end up dying out in the wilderness. Like, that's real. That is a real horror. Like, never mind the witch getting lost in the woods and then dying of starvation or thirst or just exposure. Like, that could actually happen to someone. That is horrifying. But then the witchy stuff starts happening and it gets all the more terrifying. Those creepy, iconic little wooden figures that the witch makes around their tent. And then that insane final act in that empty hut. Oh my God. I really love how the movie doesn't like show you the witch or anything like that. It just kind of ends on that infamous scene. Like, the movie lets you use your imagination instead of showing you, and sometimes that can be so much more terrifying than showing you the creature. But yeah, I know it's not everyone's cup of tea, and that's totally fine, but I really love this movie. And again, it gives that October autumnal vibes. It's not strictly Halloween, but it's loosely around Halloween. Again, October, like Halloween's in there. Like, it probably went missing on Halloween, who knows? But yeah, this is more on the list because it is set in October and because of all of the outdoor autumnal vibes. Again, it's not very Halloween specific, but it will definitely give you like the autumn spooky vibes. Okay, moving on to number 9. Gonjiam Haunted Asylum from 2018. So the crew of a horror web series travels to an abandoned asylum for a live broadcast, but they encounter much more than expected as they move deeper inside the nightmarish old building. So similar to Blair Witch Project, this is also found footage, and it also is in October, but not Halloween themed specifically, but you get all of the autumn vibes. Also, this is South Korean, so there are subtitles, but I personally really love subtitles, mostly because you get to hear the original language spoken while trying to keep up with your English language down there in the subtitles. I just think that it's really cool, and it adds an extra challenge to the movie that I really love. And there's just something about Asian horror that like really, really gets under my skin. Like The Ring, The Grudge, like I could keep going. Like, they just know how to get under people's skin. Like, they do horror so well. And this is absolutely no exception. I can honestly say I think this is the most terrifying paranormal movie that I have ever seen. Like most found footage movies, there's a slow buildup. Like, you're introduced to the characters, they make their way to the inciting incident, and then the paranormal stuff starts. And oh my God, when it starts, it does not let up. In fact, it increases and increases all the way to the end, and it's just incredibly explosive. Like, oh my God, absolutely terrifying. I don't even want to tell you what my favorite scene is, because if you haven't seen it, like, you really just need to go watch this. Like, this is such a fantastic movie. It is the only movie that in certain parts, I literally have to get up and turn the lights back on. I genuinely get that freaked out. And while it's not necessarily Halloween themed, like I said, it's set in October, and being one of the most terrifying paranormal movies that I have ever seen in my entire life, it absolutely had to be on this list. But I suppose it's a true testament to how much I love horror, because it scares the shit out of me every single time, and I love it. All right, last, number 10 on the list. Ginger Snaps from 2000. So this is the story of two outcast sisters, Ginger and Bridget, in the mindless suburban town of Bailey Downs. On the night of Ginger's first period, she is savagely attacked by a wild creature. Ginger's wounds miraculously heal, but something's not quite right. Now Bridget must save her sister and save herself. So this is on the list because the movie first starts in September, but it concludes on Halloween night. So it has like that autumn vibe, like I keep mentioning. Also, it's a werewolf movie, so it totally has the Halloween vibes there. But just in general, this is a really great movie. I really love the morbid sister duo and their complicated relationship. I also really loved the werewolf. Like, it was primarily practical effects. And again, it was 2000, and this is a Canadian movie. Not that that really matters with practical effects, but it was primarily practical effects. And then they also didn't really show the werewolf very often. And I kind of really love that because, again, it lets you use your imagination instead of showing you the creature. And sometimes that's even more terrifying. I also feel that it's rather underrated. I don't hear enough people talk about it, so definitely check it out if you haven't seen it yet. I love watching it every year, and I actually believe that it's rather underrated. I don't hear enough people talk about it, so definitely add it to your watch list if you haven't seen it yet. It's so fantastic, and like I said, it's not just like a female coming-of-age story. It's not just a werewolf story. There's so much going on in this movie, and I think you'd really enjoy it. All right, those are my top 10 favorite Halloween/October themed horror movies. They all just scream Halloween to me and give off that perfect crisp autumn vibe. And you could probably guess, but Halloween is my favorite holiday, and I just love these movies so much for the Halloween theme, all of the autumn setting and the scares too. Like, it just puts me in a spooky, happy mood. So if you've seen all of these movies, which one is your favorite? And if you're gonna be checking out a new one, which one are you most excited to get to? Let me know in the comments. And lastly, I just wanted to say once again, happy Halloween, guys, and thank you so much for being on this journey with me. I don't say it enough, but your support means the world, and I'm so appreciative. Thank you so much for hanging around and watching my videos and supporting me, and I hope you guys have a fantastic yet safe Halloween. And finally, this is just a reminder that I'm also on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd, so if you're interested in following me on those and you haven't already, the links are in my description box below. And as always, make sure to like, share, and subscribe so Black Phillip knows you'd like to live deliciously. Thanks so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you again very soon in the next video. Bye!